Hey, how's everyone doing? I'll be with you shortly. Hopefully, you guys can hear me okay. Can you give me some feedback and let me know? And I'll see you shortly. Thanks. Hello again, everyone. Excuse me. Welcome to another edition of Silver Bullion Television, SBTV. I'm your host, Patrick Vieira. Glad you all could be here. Sunday night in the States, late Sunday night, early morning in Europe, and Monday morning here in Singapore and in Asia. Glad you folks all could make it here. Let me take a quick roll call, see who's here. Phil Collins, how you doing? Bob Fike. Not sure if I should mention this guy's name, but Tony, how you doing, Tony? One Royal Wolf, how you doing? Phil Connors, Pablo Pena, Max Strong, Michael B, Call of the Wild. That's a new name. First time I've seen you here. Welcome aboard. Excuse me, Jack Parsons. Glad you all could be here. Oh, excuse me, jeez. Um, Hope everyone had a really, really, really great weekend. And if it's your first time here or you haven't already done so, please do subscribe, hit the bell to be notified of new updates, and give us a thumbs up. We really do appreciate those thumbs up, and we thank you for it. Social media, you can find us there as well. Silverbullion.com excuse me .sg is our website. We are a bullion dealer, but more than that, we specialize in systemic wealth protection, meaning you can get silver and gold and things like that from us. You can store it with us, but we also have different types of programs that do help you when it comes to things like systemic wealth protection. So I do hope you'll visit us and see the things that we do. Facebook, Silver Bullion SG. Twitter, Silver Bullion PL, PL for private limited. The audio versions on bit.ly, bit.ly, SBTV iTunes, and SBTV Spotify. And please do join our Crisis Tracker group. If you have the app Telegram, or even if you don't, go ahead and download it. It's just t.me/crisis tracker. So we hope you will join us there in that group. So again, a lot of things going on this week, as always. And we're going to have a very special guest who's going to be joining us. She's been on with us before, and the response was pretty well. We decided to do it again. That upcoming guest is going to be Lynette Zhang, Chief Market Analyst at ITM Trading, and we're happy that she's here again. ITM Trading is a full-service precious metals firm specializing in gold and silver bullion and rare coins. Lynette has been in the markets since a certain date. I don't want to say it. And in various roles, including as stockbroker and banker. And she's also the host of the popular YouTube channel ITM Trading, which educates people in the area of financial knowledge and wealth preservation. And Lynette, I tell you, she's, my opinion, she's a treat. You know, she's really not only fun to watch, but she does give a wealth of knowledge as well. So in my opinion, I think she's really great to to follow. So taking a look again, had a little bit more of the comments here and roll call. Ron Leeper, good evening from Lower South Dakota. How you doing, Ron? Thank you for being here. Always be funding. Uh, Geez, yeah. How are things there? Always be funding. I'm back from the Burning People's Republic of California. What's the situation there on the ground? I mean, is it as bad as we're seeing in the news? Because it looks pretty frightening to see all of these things up in smoke. So be curious to see what your opinion is, having been there, boots on the ground. Anna Maxa, how you doing? Emperor Bear, yes, she is very knowledgeable. Seymour Rivers, how was the Silverfest? Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I hope you folks all had a chance to make it to Silverfest at some point this past weekend. Chris Marcus from Arcadia Economics put on a fantastic program It was the first time I was ever involved in anything like that, and it was sort of like the real thing. You could go to different booths. You could talk to people there. I spent some time with Andy and David over at Miles Franklin. I spent some time in their booth. Got to know them. They're two really good guys. And then you'd be called into your little special arena, and then you'd have a few questions and answers from Chris, and then you'd take a few questions from people who were there. But I think overall it had something for everyone. I mean, if you were in the mining space, there were things there. If you're into the physical gold and silver space, there were things there. If you're wondering what's going on with comics, you got a lot of good answers there. So I mean, it was time well spent if you had that chance to visit Arcadia Economics Silverfest, and I hope they do it again soon or something similar because I think the response was pretty good. Um, let's see. Always be funding. Yes and no. Smoke and air quality was awful. I can imagine. I mean, after seeing how it looks on the television, on the mobile phone, I guess I should say, it looked pretty severe. It looked pretty bad. I just hope people there are safe. Um, Tony, can always count on you for some humor. Smokey the Bear left California. Yeah, us old folks, we know who that Smokey the Bear guy is. But okay, it's interesting you put it that way. Um, Sierra Nevada and parts of the Northwest uh, state is burning. Okay, let's hope they can get it under control, and let's help in whatever way we can. Help the firefighters out if at all possible. If you can do something, but let's hope for the best. Things there really get cleaned up a bit and taken care of. Okay, moving on. We're going to play our ebook giveaway, and this one is pretty special. So we're going to play He Said What? And this week's thank you is Aeon Schmidt's ebook, Build Your Own Bank. From the book, savers need a business plan. That is true. We do need a business plan. The Federal Reserve is not helping savers out one bit. Savers need a business plan. Simply keeping fiat currency in a savings account does not do the job anymore. Currency is printed rapidly and across the globe. It's no surprise that buying power diminishes constantly if measured against scarce and finite asset classes such as precious metals or cryptocurrencies. Now, this book it does bridge the two, and this is something that I feel is extremely important that we all really try to wrap our heads around and understand. Um, I know most of you guys like gold, you like silver, and you may have reservations with crypto, and some crypto guys have reservations with gold and silver. But I tell you what, I think it's critically important that we understand the two and be able to wrap our heads around the two and find that bridge. So this book, it's a pretty wonderful book where he gives you suggestions on how to build your own bank. So that being said, let's move forward with the rules to the game. Download the Kindle app from your phone or tablet's app store. Those will be free. Be the first to answer correctly in this live stream before the timer runs out. Timer's about a minute 30 or so. US winners will be given a link to download the ebook. Winners outside the US will be offered an alternative price at our discretion. And again, it's because Amazon doesn't allow links for Kindle to be sent outside the US. So kind of strange there, but that's Amazon, not us. And you're going to have to provide us an email during the live stream. Don't worry about that. I have my colleague Vincent standing by, and what he'll do is he will mute or hide your post so that way only he'll see it and no one else will see it. Otherwise, everybody here will have the same name as the winner, and we'll be having a hard time trying to figure out who's the real guy. We don't want too many fake winners, right? So let's get going with the question. Everybody ready? This is going to come from Jimmy Morrison's interview this past week. Here we go. What did Jimmy say about the Fed's response to market crashes? The Fed's response is becoming more and more blank each and every time. Okay, so we're looking for the answer. What did Jimmy say about the Fed and their response each and every time? It's becoming more and more blank. So be looking for your answers. Got about a minute more. See if anybody gets it. See who watched the Jimmy Morrison interview and who didn't, and then you'll go ahead. If you do manage to get the right answer, you'll be getting that ebook by Aon Schmidt, Build Your Own Bank. So let's see. Adrian Lopez, worst septic tank. Don't predictable. No, no. BK Travelog messed up. Not quite, but you guys are on the right track. Truth teller, fake. Let's see. Nicholas Nasty. There you go. Nicholas Nasty. You got it correct. The right word is insane. So just to prove that that is the word, we'll go ahead and roll Jimmy's clip where he does say the Fed's response is becoming more and more insane. Again, the winner, Nicholas Nasty.
We watched the fall of the dollar as the world reserve currency, and we had a great 100-year run, but most world reserve currencies don't last longer than or much longer than what we've lasted. And with everything the Fed's done in the last 20 years, it's just one crash after another, and their responses are just more insane each and every time. I mean, I guess that's why I own gold and silver.
So there you go. It's getting more and more insane each and every time, and that's why Jimmy owns gold and silver, and that's why a lot of us here we own gold and silver as well. We understand what's going on, and there are viewers who are on the fence, and I guess our job is to try and help them to understand what's going on, and then it's up to them to make decisions on what they want to do. So Nicholas Nasty, again, good job. The word is insane. Good job, my man. All right, so let's see what else is out there in comments that's on your mind. A lot of interesting words: desperate, crapper, aggressive, extreme, ineffective, futile, predictable inflation. So, as I said, a lot of you folks already know what's going on, and I think we're all in the same boat where we really I guess at times we're looking for support from each other, being that like minds. It's always good to be around like minds, but it's always good to have different opinions as well. So great job, appreciate it. Yes, Nicholas Nasty, good job. Okay, so moving on, let's go ahead and take a look at the Silver Bullion website, see what's going on with silver and gold. So I have it in U.S. dollars. Okay, 75% off transfer in charges. This is a pretty significant discount here. A lot of times, what happens is people will send their gold and silver to us. They transfer in, and then we go ahead and test it. We go ahead and test it and make sure that the gold and silver is really gold and silver, and then we go ahead and put it in storage, and then people can do things like uh, peer to peer, getting a secured peer to peer loan. And I tell you, that is one of the biggest things that people get into. And it's something that we do that I don't believe anyone else really does, or at least no one's been doing it as long as us. So US dollar, silver, 26.87, still trying to climb back into that $27 range. Gold, 1944, still trying to get back up to that 2000 range and maintain 2000. And I remember speaking with Gerald Solente, he has made it known that if gold can hold 2000, then silver should be able to hit 40 and go beyond. So silver 26.87, gold 1944, still hanging in there. Both are slightly up on the day this morning in Asia. Okay, silver bullion investor kit. This is something free to download. You can go ahead and do that. All you need to do is just click here, and it'll take you to that page if you're concerned about downloading things, and you'll just be taken to the investor kit here. And again, you'll be able to see things or understand things like why should you buy gold and silver, the tax exemption status in Singapore, what items are tax free, why silver bullion, safely storing wealth outside the banking system, things like that. And this kind of touches on the ebook that we'll be touching on as well later about building your own bank. So a lot of the things here can be very, very useful to you. Sign up, it's free. It is absolutely free. It doesn't cost a thing to maintain. And again, P2P or peer to peer, this is what a lot of people sign up for. This is where they can use their gold and silver as collateral. They can go ahead and take out a secured low interest rate loan and redeploy their assets. They can go ahead and buy more silver and gold. They can go ahead and do whatever they want to do with it. But the point being, you don't have to buy silver and gold and let it sort of sit in the dark and not be able to do anything. With us, with silver bullion in Singapore, you can keep those assets alive. You can keep them in the sun. You can keep them growing and doing the things that you expect them to do. And on the other half, if you have some extra cash lying around and you realize you're not getting any good interest rates or you're not getting yield anywhere, you can go ahead and be a lender. You can go ahead and open up an account and you can fund that account and go ahead and make a loan offer to people who want to borrow. And the thing is, you know that if you do lend money, you're lending it to people who have collateral, that being the gold and silver. And this is why it's a secured low interest loan. Silver to gold ratio 72.4, still in the low 70s. Been bouncing around low 70s and high 60s. I think it's really just a matter of time, short time, before we manage to stay in the 60 range. I'm really, really, really hopeful. I'm pretty confident of that we are going to see it finally get in the 60 range and stay there for a while. Um, and that's more or less some of the things going on with silver bullion. Featured products: 1,000 ounce LBMA bar, 100 ounce silver bars, some of the bigger bars, and we do have some of the smaller items like coins and such. So let's move over to Twitter, see what's going on with Twitter. Always interesting here. Of course, join our Telegram group and stay up to date with us. So this is something again you do want to do. You make sure you should join this Telegram group. It's a good way to stay up to date with things. Alan Greenspan, well, sir, you sort of had your chance already. Alan Greenspan lists inflation and the budget deficit as his biggest concerns. He says that maybe government spending is getting out of hand. Maybe we'll just take a quick look at this. It's always interesting when guys who held the post, they leave the post and they leave a ghost in the post. You know, they're still trying to tell you things or what to do, give their opinions. My take is always you had the post, don't be a ghost in the post. Just go ahead and leave it to the new man in charge. Nonetheless, former Fed Chairman Alan Greenspan told CNBC he's worried about inflation and the government's swelling budget deficit. I think everyone is. On the bug, he said, we know very little, so we pretend a great deal. Those are pretty strong words. And the government may be underestimating the size of future deficits. So here we go. So he's made his point, and his overall view is that the inflation outlook is unfortunately negative, and that's essentially the result of entitlements crowding out private investment and productivity growth. Greenspan said in an interview, I believe this was last week. It was the first televised event that the maestro has given since the pandemic. So let me scroll down a bit more. Um, He's also bemoaned the additional shortfalls in major entitlement spending like Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare. These are unfunded. This is going to be a problem down the road. We do have a great deal of knowledge on the extraordinary increase in the size of the retirement area, and we are, if anything, underestimating the size of the budget deficits that are down the road. So I think he's correct here. We're really underestimating a lot of things. We're really heading into new territory, and as Jim Rickers like to say, the Fed is still experimenting. You know, they're experimenting with our livelihoods, basically our time, our labor. I'm not sure if the Fed really knows. They don't have a game plan. I think everything right now is just it's just really on the fly. That's my opinion on it anyway. So moving on to another article from Twitter. Hang on, let me pull this up. Um, Hang on, let me pull it up for you. Um, Jeez. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so other things from Twitter. You've been told, or should I say, you've been warned. Lagarde says central bankers are nearing decision on whether to issue their digital currency, and this one's kind of big. One thing about Lagarde, she will always let you know ahead of time. The thing is, whether you act on it or whether you remember it or not, that is an individual item, but she does tend to let you know what's on her mind ahead of time. Lagarde says central bankers are nearing decision on whether to issue a eurozone digital currency. So we've been talking about this for a while. This came out September 11th, so very, very recent. So she said last Thursday that it would soon be made public whether the euro system will move forward with a eurozone based digital currency. Eurosystem has so far not made a decision on whether to introduce a digital euro, but like many other central banks around the world, we are exploring the benefits, risks, and operational challenges of doing so. Lagarde was quoted last week. The findings of a Eurosystem task force are expected to be presented to the public in the coming weeks, followed by the launch of a public consultation. As noted, many central banks, including the ECB, are pursuing digital currency initiatives. And in her remarks, she indicated that if excuse me, the ECB did move forward with such a project, it would be premised in part on providing payments access to Eurozone residents. We have a responsibility to ensure our citizens have choice and cannot be excluded from the payments ecosystem due to the unilateral actions of others. So that's coming from the ECB's Christine Lagarde. Again, this was in our crisis our crisis tracker group, and so again, please do join it. Yeah, this is where you get a lot of good info, good news. Bubbles, big bubbles. U.S. stock bubble could rank among the biggest in history. Just like in the late 80s, Japan, wildly exaggerated growth stories have forced up prices, and we're seeing this, right? The Fed, it's not just the Fed, also Swiss National Bank, they hold a lot of shares in the FANG stocks, even including Tesla. They're holding shares in the millions and hundreds of thousands. So it's not just the Fed; it's banks all over that are pushing up the markets. Here we go again. The Fed now owns nearly one third of all U.S. mortgages. And the balance sheet is ballooning out of control, and we've seen this uh, maybe half a year ago or so, where we were checking the repo markets daily, and we saw how the mortgage-backed securities were growing. The Fed taking on mortgage-backed securities, we saw how it was growing, and now they own nearly one third of all U.S. mortgages. So that's pretty significant. Uh, Three reasons to remain bullish on stocks, and all need substantial help. This one, I mean, I'll let you decide on your own. I mean, just think through it a bit. Three reasons why investors should stay bullish on stocks and use the recent market pullback as a buying opportunities, according to UBS. So let's just get straight to those three reasons why. Fiscal stimulus from U.S. banks has been delayed, not canceled, in our view. So a good reason to stay bullish on stocks is because people will still get relief. Okay, and this is your disconnect: the real economy from the market. Economic data remains positive. If it is positive, again, it's because the central banks, the Fed, are pumping up the market. And thirdly, central banks continue to innovate and provide ample liquidity. Again, it's because central banks are pumping up the market. So overall, when you have an article like this, three reasons why investors should stay bullish on stocks is because the Fed is going to pump up the market. So I just find it interesting on how words can be used and taken in different ways. For Market Watch, say goodbye to the era of globalization and brace yourself for the age of disorder, where millennials take their revenge and redistribute wealth from the old to the young. Research coming from Deutsche Bank. Let's take a quick look at this one. Article from Market Watch. And just as we said there, millennials plan to redistribute wealth from the older to the young. And this also falls in line with that book, The Fourth Turning, that we went over probably close to a year ago. So it probably won't take a great deal of persuasion to convince investors that there's an age of disorder. And it's the title of a new Deutsche Bank research note, which says the world is entering its sixth distinct era of modern times. Say goodbye to the area of globalization and brace yourself for the age of disorders, again, where millennials are looking to redistribute wealth. In fact, it's quickly emerging as a political force is because of the intergenerational gap. Assuming life does not become more economically favorable for millennials as they age, many find house prices increasingly out of reach. This could be a potential turning point for society and start to change election results and thus change policy. Um, Again, it's all because of politics and money, right? The votes for Brexit in the UK and President Donald Trump in the US 2016 elections left many younger people feeling angry and alienated by political decisions that a sizable majority of them were against, the report says. Such a shift in balance of power could include a harsher inheritance tax regime, less income protection for pensioners, more property taxes, along with greater income and corporate taxes, and all around more redistributive policies, according to Deutsche Bank. So this is about millennials not being happy, and if they can't have a life that they want, that they like, they are going to redistribute wealth. Again, something we got to understand is millennials, they are going to be our future leaders, our future people in Congress. You look in Congress right now, there's a lot of older people. They are going to be leaving, and millennials are going to be moving in. And this is things that are on their minds, it being, again, redistribution of wealth. So, something we got to keep in mind as we move forward. From Jay Reynolds, more and more miners will go into kill mode. Those that mine both gold and silver may begin to withhold silver from sales, helping to break the paper market and thereby effectively paying themselves in silver, an appreciating asset instead of depreciating fiat currency. I'm curious, what do you guys think about this? If gold and silver miners, if they start holding back, especially silver miners, if they start holding back product from getting onto the market to create a sort of a shortage, I suppose, to try and push the price up. Is that a good thing, or could there be some unintended consequences? I mean, what do you folks, what's your take on that? I'm curious to know. So let me go ahead and take a look at some of the comments here. Jack Parsons, huh? Okay, let's see. Let's see. End the Fed. Let's see. Mm, okay. Let me just see some comments here. See, Xavier, yeah, I'm agreeing with you here. This article sounds like empowerment to the government. Um, there's guys who say, it's the government who should be fearing the people, not the people who should be fearing the government. And I don't know if maybe this is just a U.S. thing, or if people generally all around the world feel that way, because it is us who, in fact, do install people into government. And that there's that saying, should government fear us, or should we be fearing them? And more it just kind of seems like, we're really, we don't know what our governments are going to do nowadays. So that's always interesting, just to say, we got to keep an eye on things. And more importantly, it's not just keeping an eye on things, but understanding what they mean and doing what you need to do to to hedge hedge yourself, against what governments may do, what central banks may do. Have one foot in the financial system and have one foot out of the financial system is more or less just is what I'm saying. Um, let's see. What is this? Once an exile, I never get picked. Okay, what is this for? Maybe see if I can find your comment here. Did I miss your comment? Um, okay. Let's see. Well, anyway, we'll move on. I'll pick you someday, sometime. I'll pick you out there. Okay, so let me move on again to Twitter. Just take a look at a couple more things here. And this is coming from Stanley Druckenmiller. Let me go ahead and play you what he said. It's just a couple minute clip. If I can get this thing going. Uh, let me end this. I think I'm not sure if you guys were getting audio on that, so let me just hold it. Sorry about that. Not sure why that audio didn't play. Um, yeah, okay, Michael being no sound. Yeah, just okay, okay. Sorry about that, guys. Um, but going back to that next question, I'm not sure why that happened there. Anyway, going back to the question we asked, should silver miners hold? Should they hold silver from coming to the market? Let's see. Pablo Pina says premiums will skyrocket. So maybe if they did that, premiums will skyrocket. Well, that would mean, from the dealer position, if supply starts getting tight, you probably would see premiums start to go up. So in actuality, that might be worse in some ways, where there's a chance people will be paying quite a bit more if miners did hold back product. So that's a good point there. Um, let's see what else. What else is there? Let's see. Uh, yeah, many would have difficulty operating, covering their operating costs. It's sort of true. I mean, I think a lot of these miners they've learned how to operate in an environment where their margins were pretty thin. As silver and gold, they've been down, they've been sideways for such a long time. But these miners have managed. They learned how to operate in that type of environment. So I think miners would generally still be okay. But I don't think it's really ever good to shut down the mine. If there was a time they should have shut down the mine, it would have been back then when gold and silver were sideways for so long. But they didn't. They went through. They didn't hold back product. I don't know if it would be a good thing for them to hold back product as well, or thinking about holding back product. I mean, idealistically, maybe it might seem like a good idea, but realistically, it may not be a good idea. So sorry about the audio on that. Anyway, let's continue. See if there's a few more items that we can pull out from Twitter. Um, SRS Rocco, as I mentioned in my article, Peru in trouble, and we'll take a quick look at this later. Thousands of miners in Peru have the bug, and the government ordered another shutdown in August of 14 of the 25 regions. So you just may see silver being held back from the market, but not because it's trying to drive the price up, but because the bug actually took people out of work. And this from Joe Rogan. I'll just take a look here. Let me play this, see if you guys can hear this. Okay, I don't think you folks can hear this. You can hear this either. Um, okay, sorry about that. I wish you could have played it, but anyway, what this gentleman was saying is that you should at least have one Bitcoin. Let me check on something real quick here. Got a message coming in. Hang on, let me just check this real quick. Um, okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, moving on. Sorry about that. I rarely do that, but I saw a message come in and it looked pretty important, so I had to check on that. So again, moving on. Steve St. Angelo, what he's saying here. Let me show you this clip, or sorry, this article from Steve St. Angelo. Peru's lockdowns by one third due to Peru's 2020 silver production down by one third due to mine lockdowns. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. The text is kind of small here. So again, this is written by Steve St. Angelo. The world's second largest silver producer saw its mine supply fall by one third due to lockdowns stemming from global contagion. When the Peru Ministry of Mines released its metals production figures last month, the domestic silver supply fell by 74%. And later on in May, or when the decline in Peru's silver mine supply in May wasn't as bad, it was, although it wasn't as bad, it was still down 66% versus the same month last year. So already mine supply is is dropping, as Steve St. Angelo is pointing out there. Let me take a look at some of the comments here. Always be funding. So basically, inflation is coming. Got it. Yeah. Uh, we know already the Fed is going to let the economy run hot. If it does get past that 2%, they're going to let it go. They're looking now at instead of a target 2%, they're looking at an average 2%, which means we've been below 2% for so long. They're not going to have a problem letting it go above 2% to try and get that 2% average. So yes, I would say expect inflation. A lot of people still say deflation, but I think either way, the point is, we're going to go through deflation or inflation, and again, the reasons to why gold to have gold and silver to store your wealth. Okay, let me move on a bit. See what else is here. Um, yeah, no, yeah. Sorry about that. I'm not sure why that sound went out again. Um, let's see. Xavier, I've been in Bitcoin since 2012. I'll keep holding. Xavier, you know what? I mean, I think that's a good thing. And I think even what's a better thing is you're holding. I think crypto, I mean, you can trade it, of course, but I think there are certain cryptos that you really just want to hold. So I think it's good that you're doing that. So I want to go back and take a look at a few things Jimmy Morrison said last week in the interview. Jimmy does have a background in economics, and he's spoken to a lot of people that we speak to, and he does have the keys to open the doors to even speak to people that we've never had the chance to speak to, and probably a lot of us out there may never have the chance to speak to. So I just want to take a look at a few clips from Jimmy Morrison.
It's not the gold's fault that they created more paper money than they actually had backing it up. It's not like something where we started with this paper money and then we added the gold to the situation. The paper money was supposed to just be a certificate for the gold where, hey, you could take this in and redeem it and get your actual gold back. It was just a matter of convenience to carry the paper instead of the actual gold. But what we've seen since is the the federal government does not want us to have gold; they want us to have the paper money.
Yep, that is true. Where Jimmy's statements, they do open up a whole list of other questions, such as he said, why does the federal central banks want us to have paper money and not gold? What do you folks think on that? Knowing what we know today, does convenience trump having real money? It seems more and more we're moving into convenient transactions, as opposed to maybe knowing what money is anymore. So I think that's something to keep an eye on as well. Convenient transactions as opposed to money. It's a strange twist. Um, will the upcoming central bank digital currencies further remove us from real money? As I showed you, ECB is looking, or they're going to make an announcement soon. We'll see what happens with that. And will the new central bank digital currencies be at least partially backed by an asset like gold or silver? Remains to be seen. That one definitely remains to be seen. So I'll take a look at another clip from Jimmy. So in the meantime, I think a good question here is, why does the Federal Central Banks, why do they want us to have paper money and not gold and silver? I'll play the next clip now.
It's not just the Fed doing this stuff now. Like everybody is just printing insane amounts, and the ECB hasn't had as drastic a response this year as the Fed has. But they're talking about more stimulus, and we're kind of in a situation where it's just everybody's going around in a circle announcing different stimulus bills and unemployment packages and all that stuff costs money, and we already had an over $1 trillion deficit uh, before the coronavirus happened, and now who knows? Like there's different estimates, 3-4 trillion dollars just in one year. It certainly feels like even without the coronavirus, we were at a tipping point. But with all the lockdowns and everything, it's just nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody.
Okay, nobody knows what's going to happen, but if we take a quick recap, 2016, 17 interest rates rise. 2017, late 2017, going into 2018, Trump calls for Powell to lower rates. 2018, we're at about 2.25, 2.5, and Powell has to pivot and he starts bringing interest rates down. Powell reverses courses and he continues to lower interest rates. We get into 2019 and we see the repo market snap. Liquidity, credit all starts to seize up. 2020, the bug hits, people shelter in place, and we see bailouts around the globe. We see the Fed and other central banks pumping up markets, holding up companies. So we see this happening all over the place. So yes, economies all over the world were already either slowing or were in trouble before the bug. Curious to know if you folks agree with that, and I'll play another clip from Jimmy.
The coronavirus happened, and all these insane bailouts and money printing has happened since the coronavirus. But what people don't realize is they had actually turned the printing presses around back last fall. They'd already stopped selling all this stuff. They'd already started printing money and pushing interest rates back down. So it's without the coronavirus, we still would have had a crash, and I think we probably would have had to deal with things sooner than we would have otherwise, because the coronavirus has kind of given them this excuse where everything's been put on hold. They're just creating massive amounts of money, and everything's just kind of up in the air right now. Nobody really knows how this is going to play out.
Yeah, okay, and that just may be the generational debate. Is the bug cover for the troubles that the world economies were already in? And no matter what your opinion, though, no matter what any of us think, the fact is this: you cannot have a healthy economy without a healthy population. And this is something we've said early on. The question is, what will the powers that be do in order to get that healthy population, in order to get that healthy economy? So they say. Central bank money debt. The central bank money debt game cannot be continued or played anymore if we don't go into debt and consume, consume, consume. And right now, supposedly, we are too sick to get out and consume. So to help make consumption happen, to get the central bank's money debt game going again, we need to be able to consume from home by using digital currencies and payments to make payments for things like Amazon, Netflix, whatever it might be. And in doing so, we, in a sense, are continuing to disengage from what money is for the sake of convenience. And that's exactly what Jimmy said earlier, where we may be losing touch with what money is. And for many of us, we already know one thing we have to do with all of these things going on and how the world's reserve currency, in a sense, is being manipulated, in a sense, it's being annihilated, is to be and build our own bank. And by building our own positions in stores of wealth like gold and silver. And recently I was given an ebook written by one of our clients here at Silver Bullion, which is also the ebook prize given away earlier. You know, build your own bank. It's a book that suggests what you can do to build your own bank. And as we've discussed before, financial freedom, it's not about being necessarily rich. True financial freedom is about being as free as we can from the financial system with assets outside of the financial system. That being building wealth, wealth protection, and building your own bank. And in the book, there are 5 things that are suggested that you should do to build your own bank from the author Aon Schmidt. And I found this pretty interesting in that he did recommend silver bullion in quite a few of his suggestions, and that is because he understands the things that we do, as we mentioned before, the ecosystem, the way we do things here. He suggests having an account with silver bullion, having an account with our vault, the safe house. He also suggests engaging in peer-to-peer, which I just spoke a little bit about earlier, the peer-to-peer platform. And he also suggests opening an account with Bitstamp, Coinbase, as well as an Exodus wallet or an account with ChangeAngel.io. And he does suggest have some Bitcoin, Litecoin, and or Digibyte, and more importantly, he suggests to hold it. So you can see those five little icons bottom left: silver, gold, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Digibyte. And a few of you guys, I saw this in the comments where you folks were saying, you should have a combination of the two. And this is exactly what he was saying, in a way where you can go ahead and use these in such a way where you can build your own bank. And what's really good about the book is the author, he does what he says he does and speaks from expertise and experience. Aeon has found success in ways that just about any of us can do if we have a map to follow. And thankfully, he's navigated the way for us. I've read through the book, and he has definitely laid out the groundwork for us that we could follow. And we've often said, hold five things. I've often said, hold five things. I'll be accountable to what I say. Cash, have some cash, have junk silver, have some gold, have some Bitcoin. Well, I guess this is six actually, and have some cash gold token, which is a gold back token. Again, disclaimer: I do have a micro share with that. Do note that paper cash does have an expiration date. I think we all know this as well. But Aeon expands further and explains why, in his, I'm going to say, expert opinion of success, he suggests holding silver, gold, Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Digibyte, as just mentioned. But please note, none of this should be taken as financial advice professionally or otherwise. These are simply suggestions, and he really laid out why he believes in this and why it's worked for him and how it can work for you as well. And so, thankfully, in his book, we at Silver Bullion in Singapore were found to be that reliable choice to start building your own bank, to be able to have a core of sorts, a good foundation to really start to build your own bank brick by brick. And that's because, again, of our ecosystem. And as I point out at the beginning of each show, we do specialize not just in wealth protection, but systemic wealth protection. There's a difference. The ecosystem here, it means things like the jurisdiction, the ownership, our peer-to-peer program, parcelization, testing the bullion you bring in. A lot of times you're going to go and store bullion with the vault. I don't think they're going to test it for you. They're just, if you tell them this is a kilogram of gold, they're just going to take it as is and take your word for it. Never going to test it. But we do that, and we allow you even into the vault to see how your precious metals are stored and how the vault operates, its procedures and protocols, and even our insurance, where we include, or we have, a mysterious disappearance um, protection in our insurance. And again, this whole ecosystem, it is a way. I think it's what people really can use to be able to build their own bank, and this is what Aeon has exactly done. These are all parts of our ecosystem. So, I think all of us would agree that we need to build our own bank, and Aeon Schmidt has done just that. And his book, I tell you what, it is a mind opener, for sure. It'll definitely open your mind. You may even see silver and gold in a different way, in ways that you can still use it. As I've said before, you don't have to just store it, and it sits there. You can still use it. And then it's things like those three cryptos. He's searched and gone through cryptos, and those were the three he came up with. And he feels very strongly about it. He can tell you how to um how to buy it, and what you should do with it, which is basically hold it. If you need to trade, you need to sell. That's an individual choice. But in building your own bank, you need to be able to get these assets and hold it, and again, hold it outside of the financial system. And I think that's the key. We have to have one foot in the financial system, and then again, if we can get one foot out, uh, maybe even better. But again, I would highly recommend reading his book, picking it up, because he definitely lays out the groundwork for you. And I'm happy that we were a part of what he sees as being the map to follow. So Aeon, thank you for that, and I hope you folks do really take a look at it, because he really does explain it very, very, very well. Moving on, again, I'd highly get a copy. Build Your Own Bank. Um, Again, it is on Amazon, I believe. Kindle, you can go ahead and get it there. So Again, please do have a look at it. So moving on from building your own bank to being your own boss, which is entrepreneurs and being an entrepreneur in the gig economy. And I want to take a look at the gig economy. It seems to be a forgotten economy. So we'll take a look at that. First, I just want to go ahead and see if I can pick up some comments from you folks here. Um, let's see. Um, let me go through this. See if there's anything here. Um, okay, I guess you guys are okay. Your conversation seems to be good. You guys are having a nice conversation with each other. So what I want to do is take a look at the gig economy and what is it?
The days of being hired by a company and working there until retirement are long gone. Maybe a small business needs a website but cannot afford to hire a full-time designer, and perhaps you're a talented designer who wants to be his own boss. This would be an example of a perfect gig economy situation. Essentially, the term gig economy describes an environment where people work for others as independent contractors. They set their own hours, choose their clients, and usually work on a per-project basis rather than a monthly salary. In, let's say, the US, over 1 out of 3 people are involved in the gig economy at this point, and there are many pros, such as 1. Extreme freedom, with you deciding what you do, who you work for, and how much you charge. 2. Diversification, since your livelihood doesn't depend on just one company. 3. Having access to a worldwide market, and for many countries, this can mean you can earn a lot more than the local average wage. There are, however, cons, such as 1. Less social safety nets, since you'll be responsible for figuring things out such as insurance, retirement options, and so on, although more and more solutions for the gig economy are emerging. 2. More responsibility, because sure, you can take a day off if you don't feel like working, but you won't make any money. Forget about options such as paid leave. 3. Fierce competition, as in globalization on steroids, so it's on you to continuously improve your skills, and if you live in a very rich country, it can be difficult to earn more than with a traditional local job.
Okay, yeah, that guy talks pretty quick. Just curious though, any of you guys out here are you part of the gig economy? Independent contractor doing work which depends on some kind of technology. So I'm just curious if any of you guys out here are part of that gig economy. Uber driver, Grab driver, Lyft driver. If you're doing work, maybe Fiverr, things like that. It's curious to know how it's going for you. So why are we talking about the gig economy? Well, we just talked about how we are in a time, while we still have time to build your own bank. And another part of how things are changing and how we will be employed. How are we going to be employed, right? I mean, we cannot count on our jobs coming back. We've seen a lot of jobs lost that may not be coming back. And we cannot count on our jobs being there tomorrow. We're still seeing numbers by the thousands, tens of thousands of people being laid off still. So jobs that are gone and may not be coming back, and jobs that were here today but gone tomorrow. So the Fed, they are a part of it, for sure. The Fed is deciding right now, and I'm not the only guy who says this. A lot of people say it. The Fed is deciding right now which companies and their jobs will remain and which will be obsolete. And to be clear, it's not just the Fed, it's also central banks around the world, governments around the world. So I want to take a, let's see, I want to take a look at some of your comments here. Um, John, the gig economy is tough right now, especially the arts. Are you involved in the, I mean, are you part of the so-called gig economy? I mean, are you have opportunities lessened or has competition grown? Just curious to know. Are people still paying you or have they been paying you a fair amount? Curious to know these things. Um, okay, let me see what else is out here. A few more comments. See if any of you are in the gig economy. What your opinions or your feeling is on it. Um, okay, all right. Okay, so we'll move on. So I'll go through this article here. Um, it's titled "History Repeats Itself for Gig Economy Workers," and not in a good way. So it's got to be it's weird because it's got to be tough for them. But then again, these people were they were labeled the essential workers. We found out we really needed them. But a century ago, worker protests were common. Coal miners, railwaymen, garment factory seamstresses fought for standardized hours, fair pay, better working conditions, and the rise of labor unions and A decent social safety net lulled us into believing their issues were a thing of the past. So, however, the 50-year detente in the mid 20th century between workers and business was actually an abnormality. Recent protests by Uber drivers, hotel workers, and DoorDash couriers have been a clear reminder that the debate about who should enjoy the benefits of economic growth, workers, employers, customers, or all three, still very much with us. Let me just go back and check the date. So, this was at the beginning of the year before the bug swung into effect. So there were already issues going on here. I would argue that much like the early 1900 counterparts or their counterparts, workers today find themselves with greater economic and social instability, this time due to an economy shifting away from full time employment to the so called gig economy. Okay, so overall, the gig economy in better times, probably it may offer a bit more freedom in a sense. That is one reason I understand people they move into the gig economy. They want more flexible hours, so a bit more freedom. Although yes, there are trade offs when it comes to pay, benefits, and hours, and we'll take a little bit take another look at the gig economy. This article coming from fortunately gig economy statistics 2020, the new normal in the workplace. This was in May, so now we are in the bug. Other article, we didn't have the bug yet. Now this is in a time where the bug has arrived. So there are many factors influencing the growth of the gig economy. Companies are turning to freelancers to do jobs that are not directly related to their industry, such as marketing, design, or content creation, and in a cost effective way. A growing number of online platforms offer excellent earning opportunities, and with a decreasing need for physical presence in the workplace, it's easier than ever to work for multiple employers simultaneously. And this is one of the things that people in the gig economy prefer is that they have multiple employers. If one employer has hardship, it's not as if they're fully employed by that one employer. They have other employers that can still keep them afloat. Still, being a gig economy worker comes at a price. Gig workers enjoy a flexible lifestyle and the freedom of being their own boss, but many sacrifice their financial security and income predictability. According to one study, the freelance economy is growing three times faster than the traditional workforce in the US. What was once considered a fringe employment model has now become mainstream. So, some highlights, some stats and facts. Estimated that the percentage of U.S. workers participating in the gig economy will increase to 43% in 2020. Again, this was written in May. I would not be surprised at all if it's well above 43% right now with what's going on. More than 90% of U.S. workers would consider freelancing or independent contracting work. So here we see it's already on people's minds. Again, this is during the time when the bug was really starting to take effect. Only 35% of Americans or America's self employed are female. So it looks to be a male dominated economy, I guess, with things like drivers, food deliveries, and things like that. Maybe it is a bit more male orientated, but I'm sure there are other things, content creation and things like that, that are much safer. Let's just say almost half of millennials use online gig economy platforms to work, and this is the part. It's the technology that allows them to work from home and enter the gig economy. Even if you're a driver, you're using an app. So again, technology is the key component in the gig economy. California, Texas, New York, Florida, and Illinois offer the best opportunities for remote workers. Total freelancing income is almost 1 trillion. 57% of contracting workers work more than 40 hours per week. That is true. A lot of the gig workers, they're putting in a lot of time. And on average, gig workers earn 58% less than full time employees. More than half don't have access to employer provided benefits. The highest paying jobs for freelancers are in the fields of AI, AI and blockchain. Okay. So besides doing things, we learned to be called essential. Things like marketing, social media marketing, more awareness and reach can be performed pretty well, pretty good by the gig economy. And projections are that more and more people will enter this economy, maybe not by choice, but just because of situation, which absolutely will have to be adjusted. These numbers are going to have to be adjusted once we know for sure which jobs come back successfully and which jobs may be gone forever. So I want to take a look at a few comments and see what's out there. Um, Danny the plumber, the gig economy is not sustainable. You know, I'm hearing that more and more. I'm not sure if it's because of the hours that they have to put in, why it's not sustainable physically, if it's not sustainable, or if it has to do with the companies that they're doing work for. If it has anything to do with them. But I've been hearing more and more that it's just not sustainable. So, are we looking at the gig economy as a whole, or are we looking at just the individual, where it may not be sustainable for that individual? So that's a good point. That's a good point there. Um, Anamax, if they are independent contractors, of course they don't have employer supplied benefits. That is true, and I think they're looking at bringing in some type of legislation, perhaps to get these people benefits. In fact, let me go to that article. That's a good point. So, taking a look at this article here, excuse me. Okay, let's just let it load up. Okay, gig workers are here to stay. It's time to give them benefits. Okay, so we're talking about benefits now. Over 48 million Americans. I can't imagine what the rest of the world, the numbers would be in total, but they have applied for unemployment insurance in the wake of the bug. And though ride hail drivers are considered essential workers, Uber's business dipped by 80% in April as shelter in place orders kept passengers at home as demand for rides plummeted. Many ride hail drivers have also become uneasy about continuing to work because of the health risk to themselves, their families, and passengers. Julie, based in Cincinnati, has enjoyed driving for Uber for the last 4 years. She's proud to be the sole breadwinner for herself and her 16-year-old daughter, but she was scared to continue even after switching from passenger to food delivery. She says she applied for unemployment because I delivered to four different houses and each of the people tipped me just a little over $1. And I'm sorry, but my life is not worth that. And that's a good point. Historically, gig workers like Julie have not been eligible for unemployment benefits, but in March this past year, the Federal CARES Act extended pandemic unemployment assistance to independent contractors such as gig workers, an outcome that Uber lobbied for. So Julie added, I don't feel it would be anyone's responsibility for my finances except myself. I'm grateful for the help, but I feel absolutely awful for having to take it. I would much rather be out driving people around and pointing out all the cool stuff and history around Cincinnati. Julie, great attitude there, right? While labor advocates support getting financial assistance to gig workers, many worry that interventions like pandemic unemployment assistance will validate Uber's contentious claim that their drivers should be classified as independent contractors, not employees. These concerns are legitimate, but they also overlook a larger public policy opportunity to make gig work in the U.S. work better for everyone. This crisis is a chance to update our benefit and safety net system for how people actually work and sometimes don't work. So we shouldn't let it pass by us. So there is an argument that these essential workers, and they are essential workers, we've come to know them to be essential workers, that they should have better pay, benefits, um, things like that. But my question though is of course, if all of these things now are afforded them, um, who's going to pay? Is it the companies that they work for? Is it going to be passed on to us? I think most likely it's going to be passed on to us. So again, I just want to take a look at a few of your comments here. Um, let's see. Mm, um, Okay, let's see what's on here. Sorry about that. I just want to scroll through this real quick. Um, let's see. Okay, Carrie Ellen Wilder. Gig economy is not sustainable by the same set of workers as long as there's a high turnover in who is doing the gig jobs. It's sustainable. That's okay. That's a good point. I can see that. Great point. Great point. Any other points here? Um, let's see. Okay. One royal wolf, just another way to divide us. When we work collectively, we achieve more. When we are all at competition with each other, we will achieve less and make less. Okay, it's another point as well. Everyone has an opinion on this. Um, so I wanted to show you something I came across here in the pertaining to the gig economy in Singapore. Let me see if I can find this slide here. Um, just to share that the gig economy also does exist here. It's not just a U.S. thing. It's all over the world. So I'll start by showing you what an analyst in Singapore thought about the gig economy.
Because we wanted to find out more about how blue-collar gig economy workers were doing and also more about their socio-economic profile, because there's no available public data on their income background, And we found out that actually one of every two of such delivery riders and private hire drivers came from they had a per capita monthly household income, per capita income of less than 1,005, which puts them in the bottom third of Singapore's workers. So it just means that in terms of household income, they're at the lowest 30%. Yeah. So even though many of them are earning more than their previous jobs, they still find it a struggle to make ends meet. And of course, you can't blame the gig economy for not paying them the wages, because but it shows that because they come from this low income background, they are more vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
So in the event of unexpected disruptions, whether it be business or regulatory disruptions, right? You will find that it could be a more vulnerable and marginalized class of workers that get hit by this.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to point out this interview was done back in November before the bug had entered Singapore. So her analysis was pre-bug. And in some ways, she's right. In some ways, we found out after the bug hit that it is a little bit different than what we thought. Um, Again, her concern was gig workers were vulnerable in an unforeseeable downturn, and she's correct there. Where what we just showed was you know with things like benefit stability, things like that, and a lot of times gig workers it's the path they chose, and it's what they have. It's high risk, high reward. So they are vulnerable in a sense. So she was right there. But in a sense, also, I shouldn't say, in a sense, what happened after the bug showed up, we saw also that what we thought about gig workers was also wrong in some ways, because they became the essential workers. We needed them. And it was quite the opposite. It showed to be true in that unforeseen downturn when the bug came into play. Again, before that, gig workers were seen to be sometimes needy in a sense. It's all they had. Um, as she said, the lower third of society. But when that bug came, they weren't needy. They actually became the needed. And some of them really, really thrived. In fact, I'll show you one extreme of how much they thrived over in Singapore, where one guy allegedly he made some 12,000 in 5 weeks. 12,000 is Sing dollars, which is maybe about 8-9,000 or so in US dollars by driving. So in some cases, people did really well. If you have not heard of the Earn 1K on Monday, Earn 1K on Sunday, it's basically a challenge among private hire drivers in the Facebook community, where they are challenging each other to see if it's possible to earn $1,000 on a specific day of the week, that being Monday or Sunday. And this article from mothership.sg says, as of now, nobody we know of has successfully achieved this mission, although a few individuals have come close. So here are some slips where $968 is what one guy made in a day, 912 is what another guy made in a day. So they're saying it is possible to make some good money in the gig economy. So according to his September 4 post on the community page, in the span of 5 weeks, the private dryer has earned a total of 12,469 Sing dollars, again, which is about 9,000 or so US dollars. And he achieved this work by working a 6 day week, 12 to 14 hours a day. So again, this is the thing where gig economy, a lot of times these people are putting in a lot more hours than regular employment. Grab drivers, which is the equivalent of Uber and Lyft, can get an average of 30 Sing dollars per hour during peak hours and 25 Sing dollars per hour during non-peak non-peak hours, excuse me. The driver earns an average of $29 per hour, which is roughly maybe about $24 or so US an hour, which essentially means he is consistently earning peak hour rates. In Singapore, we have, like many places, you have your regular rates and then you have your peak hour rates when demand is much higher. But again, it's not counting everything, including his fuel costs, electronic road pricing, which is sort of like toll fares, parking fees, and things like that. So this was his breakdown. The week of July, ending of July, 1st of August, 2,500. Following week, another 2,500. Following week, another just about 2,500. So basically, for a 5 week period, he totaled up to over 12,000, just about 12,500, which is very very good. But the contrast, what I wanted to show you was the contrast where one place things can be going well, another place things may not be going so well. So just across a short body of water in Indonesia, from Singapore to Indonesia, 50 drivers fight for one order. So Southeast Asia's gig economy is being battered. So it's amazing how in certain parts of the world things are doing okay, and in other parts of the world things are still a bit tough. So Indonesian motorcycle taxi driver Aji, he chain smokes and checks his smartphone constantly while waiting for orders by the roadside in downtown Jakarta on a hot June morning, but is staring at the prospect of another fruitless day. Before the bug outbreak, 35-year-old father of four would ferry at least 20 passengers for a daily income of about 13 US dollars, between 13 and 20 as a driver for Gojek, which is Indonesia's equivalent of Uber and Lyft and Grab. But when transportation services halted under a city lockdown, Mr. Aji considered it a good day if he got more than two food delivery orders, which paid him 70 cents each time. So things really, really fell back for him. So even with restrictions eased this week, he is struggling to feed his family. The situation is that there are many drivers, but orders are few. And this is the thing, a lot of times people will fall back to the gig economy, some by choice and some not having a choice. Um, 11 drivers for Gojek and Grab, which is backed by SoftBank in Indonesia, Vietnam, and Thailand, uh, told Reuters that they have similarly struggled with income slashed by more than half as the bug batters Southeast Asia. So again, some places are doing fine, some places are coming back, and other places still have a bit of hardship. It's pretty interesting to see how the economy is flowing throughout the world, where places are once again beginning to open up and thrive, and other places are still being held under, still being locked down. So you can see places that have opened up, like Singapore has progressively opened up, economies coming back, and things are doing better. Not everything. There still are some areas where the economy is tough, but generally the economy is starting to come back. So some of you guys remember last week. So I want to show you how that example of 50 gig workers in Indonesia, how that translate into what is happening in the U.S. And again, some of you folks may remember this from last week, but I want to show this one more time for guys who might not have seen it, because gig economy is so so diverse, very diverse.
What exactly is happening here?
So, delivery drivers are basically staking out these routes by trying to get as close to Whole Foods as possible, and the phones are what Amazon system looks for when it assigns routes. If it has a route that has to be done immediately, it is looking for drivers that are close by. So these drivers are combining both a phone in the tree to have the closest proximity to Amazon, along with some sort of like software running on the device to snag the route as soon as it becomes available.
Wow. What is Amazon saying about this?
Amazon didn't talk to us about this. We did see a note that they sent to a driver. So some drivers are concerned because they feel like if they're not in on this plot, then they're losing work. It's some people are benefiting and others are missing out, and they have complained. And we saw an email that Amazon sent in response to those drivers, just saying that they'd investigate the matter, and if there are any intermediaries, trying to game its system, that's a violation of their policies. But they said that they would not be able to divulge whatever they determine from their investigation with the drivers. So the drivers are frustrated, just saying it just continues to happen, and Amazon doesn't seem to be doing anything about it.
Well, it's certainly a very creative solution, but also a sign of some of the desperation out there and how desperate some people are to get work. How were you alerted to this story?
Yeah, so definitely, and this is the gig economy, correct? So it's not like an hourly worker who's getting paid even when the shift is a little slow. These are people who only get paid if they get the Amazon delivery job, and so they're sitting there and looking for any way possible to get that job, which could pay as little as $15. And so it is kind of a sign of the times, and it's also shows how the gig economy, particularly in a tough, bleak job market, the people with the work really benefit because they'll have big lines of people waiting to get that work, and it doesn't hurt Amazon to have a bunch of people milling around outside Whole Foods waiting to get a delivery route. It doesn't cost Amazon a nickel, and then it makes their deliveries faster.
Okay, so that's pretty interesting. Where again, as I just showed you in Indonesia, where you have a lot of guys waiting to hopefully get some jobs. We're kind of seeing the same thing even in the U.S. now, where guys are putting their phones up in mobile trees. Rolf Steiner, Amazon says these people are overpaid, and $4.50 an hour is a more reasonable pay rate. First time I'm hearing that one. Has anybody else heard that? I mean, coming out from Amazon, I would say 450 is pretty low. Let's see. Uh, Seymour Rivers, how do they know if they get a job if they don't have their phone? It's in the tree. I think they have like a forwarding type of app that'll alert them on another phone. Pretty sure. Maybe something else, but they probably have something that forwards it to a different way that they can be communicated with. Um, but it is interesting, if you see phones up in the trees, um, don't take it. Right? Don't take a phone in a tree. So just it may be people looking for jobs out there. So let me take a look at a few more comments from you folks. Um, okay, I'll tell you what. I'll just go through some commentary here. You know, so whether it's 50 people fighting for a job or 50 people leaving their phones in trees, it's the same thing. The gig economy is pretty much it's all about tech, and tech and apps are everything nowadays, and we see that in the markets. Tech allows us to stay at home and buy things online, have it delivered. Tech allows us to even be entertained. Tech looks to be and will be the backbone of the new monetary system. We see central banks using tech, just as Christine Lagarde said. They're going to make an announcement creating their own digital currencies. We saw in Aon Schmidt's book, which again I do highly recommend, where three tech items, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Digibyte, are three cryptocurrencies that can help you build your own bank. And I strongly suggest we all understand the concept of building our own bank. We see how Cash Gold uses tech to have not just a gold backed token, but a gold fronted token that helps you make gold borderless. If you need to, if you have some gold and you need to get up and move, you got to take your gold with you. Cash gold token. If you have some gold, you can more or less make your gold borderless. You can leave one place, go to another place, and your gold will be there. I mean, it's a little bit more than that, but there's a concept behind it where gold becomes borderless. Many jobs will be created because of technology. Many jobs will be lost to technology, and there's just too many unknowns. I think we've seen the word a few times here, unknown. Significant life changing unknowns that are out there, like people in the gig economy who fend for themselves. They diversify their employment. Again, maybe a good thing is they're not locked into one employer where they sort of create a hedge by having multiple employers. So if one goes down, they're still afloat. Um, a lot of us don't have that luxury, but gig workers have found a way to do this, diversifying their employment. And sometimes, we got to look at that word diversifying, and we need to understand things like we need to do the same by diversifying our wealth. We can't keep it all in one place. That one place not just being a bank, but being the financial system. So we need to understand how to move out of the financial system and have financial freedom. And that it does start with understanding gold and silver. If I can go back to the book, the first thing you noticed in the bottom left hand corner was silver and gold. So it all starts with that. Understanding the role of gold and silver, and love it or not, take the time to understand cryptos because this is where the future is heading. This is what our young leaders of tomorrow want. And like I said, you know, people in politics right now, they're getting old. Younger people are going to move in, and this is what younger people want. They want some form of a crypto or digital currency, and that's where we're headed. So, do consider things that we've talked about: silver, gold, things that Silver Bullion has to offer. Just contact us, sales at silverbullion.com.sg. Give us a call. Uh, Aon Schmidt's book, Build Your Own Bank. It has a lot of good info in there, and just keep an eye open, see what's going on in the world and what you need to do, because we're all going to have to figure out a lot of these things for ourselves. So let me take a look at some comments here, and then I'll be heading out. Apologies for the audio issues earlier. Those were supposed to have been solved. I'm wondering if it was because of a few updates, but anyway, I'll take a look at a few more comments, and then we'll hit Pablo Pina. I guess that's not a Macintosh apple tree. No, no, it's not. All right. That's a good one, though. That's a good one. But again, are any of you guys in the gig economy? I mean, I'm really curious to know how it's been going for you. Take a look at a few more comments here. Um, let's see. Um, Jay, I've been working, but I need more stimulus checks. Yeah, I understand those are they're being politicized again, right? They're trying to it's kind of on hold right now. They're going to decide whether they're going to keep forwarding it or not, depending on the amount, I believe. But even that is everything nowadays is wrongfully being politicized, and it's something we try to stay away from. Let's see. Um, One Royal Wolf. Uh, Gig economy personified, I think. Unions worked hard for years to get us rights collectively. Individually, we have no rights against corporations. Um, you know what? From my experience with the unions, and I was part of the IBEW, the electrical union, um, local 1186 back in Hawaii. And I tell you what, unions, I think they're good, and sometimes they're not good. They're good in that you're protected. A lot of things are secure. But the downside to that, we can be very expensive. And what happens is we drive up the cost of things. And a lot of times you're going to have your state governments, they're going to go after unions to get unions to endorse them. And the trade off is that state government is going to decide to construct something. They're going to make some sort of a building, and because now they owe union workers something, they're going to have to pay union wages, which also includes union benefits. And the building is going to cost more than perhaps if it was non-union workers. But ultimately, it's the taxpayer that pays the higher price for the buildings that the unions are going to demand through their wages and benefits programs for their workers. So, I mean, it is good in some ways, of course, but there's also a little bit of a downside. I think it just kind of depends. I tend to see it both ways, and I think I told you the story. I was an apprentice when I started off at $7.11 an hour, and every year you're going to get like a 90-cent raise. And by the time you reach your journeyman level, it was like mid $20 range or low $20 range an hour. And even back then, I'm wondering how are they going to afford me? You're getting raises every like 6 months or 1 year or so. How are they going to afford everybody? Everything's going to cost a lot more. And sure enough, we've seen some of these things happen. Um, anyway, I see you guys have some conversations going on. Rolf Steiner, yes, U.S. bank bailouts are very expensive too. We're all going to pay for this at some time. U.S., Europe, wherever you may be, we're all going to pay. Um, let's see. Um, okay, I think you guys are okay there. Looks like you folks had a good conversation amongst yourselves. You guys talked about a lot of things, and that's good. Um, so I appreciate you being here. I'll be heading out, trying to figure out the tech issues that happened. But again, we're all in this boat together. We got to take care of each other. Do look for that book, Build Your Own Bank. There's a lot of, I think it's underpriced, to be honest. I think that book should be a little bit higher, but hopefully Amazon bots didn't hear me say that. But I tell you, there's a wealth of information there, so I do hope you folks can find it on Amazon. Build Your Own Bank. But appreciate you being here. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your families, and as always, saddle up for what's coming ahead and silver up as well. And I'll see you guys next week. Take care.